Revelation 2299. From the 12th of April 1942. Serve. Vices of idleness. The walk through earthly life is a conscious and unconscious serving, but always activity if this walk is to be a bearable one. If the beingness is not able to serve, then this is a state of death, caused by its own will but unspeakably agonizing. In the stage as a human being, however, the beingness is free to be active in service or to be inactive. And this does not have such an agonizing effect as in the preliminary stages, but it is all the more serious because the soul is tremendously burdened by inactivity. The soul feels inactivity as an obstacle to the height. It feels it, but is more turned towards the body and fulfills its desire. And as it neglects its task on earth, so it will also fail to comply with the demands made on it in the beyond in order to change its agonizing state, which is the consequence of its earthly life and the effect of it. She will not recognize her state of inactivity in the beyond as the cause of her suffering and therefore also be unwilling to escape from it and yet feel the agony of her bondage. Moreover, as on earth, she will crave distractions and the fulfillment of earthly desires but never be willing to help those who suffer like her in servant love. This state is extremely hopeless if the soul has no inner drive for activity, which is a consequence of its inactive way of life. On earth people constantly receive strength and this should be used, it should be utilized for helpful activity. For only through such activity will the soul redeem itself and also help the still immature spiritual substances in matter to develop further. But as soon as the human being indulges in idleness, he misuses the strength he receives without gaining any benefit for his soul. This would only be a standstill if idleness were not at the same time the danger that man would fall prey to vices which mean regression for him. For now God's adversary goes into action by holding up all the comforts of earthly life to the indolent human being and urging him to chase after them. Pleasure, gluttony and carnal desires tempt him to many sins, weaken the body and the soul and make them unfit for resistance. The desire for earthly goods is increased and the soul is now completely kept away from its actual earthly task if it does not nevertheless give in to the Spirit's urging, which makes the soul believe that it should give up this way of life. If the soul still has this strength of will then it is saved, but this requires great willpower and heartfelt prayer to God for support and strengthening of the will. However, idleness usually goes hand in hand with a desire for the world, and the person does not pay attention to the spiritual task. And the soul must bitterly atone for such a wrongly led way of life in the beyond, for it will not be spared the torments of the state of idleness. It has to endure them until it longs for activity of its own accord, which can take an infinitely long time. Amen.